I will remind people that you are free to come on voice. Cleasy, I know that you can come on voice. Marky Mark, Azaria, Shane, we'd love to get you on voice on this. Oh, he's on mobile at the moment. So Khaleesi says building a network slash business that's got long-term value rather than making pennies on content creation. Steam over other blockchains because of the obvious reasons: free transactions, proof of brain, and existing community.
There's that community again.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really in all of them, huh?
Azaria says, I started Creative Coin to help artists. Eventually would like to build a marketplace.
For indie artists that don't have anywhere to post their stuff, Isaiah?
She says yes.
Um, is that the main motive that people start a lot of businesses, or is that a major one? Just to help other people somehow?
What's that Zig Ziglar line? Help other people get what they want and you'll get what you want.
The people that I know on Steam are, yeah, they're here to, and those are the people that I know that have come really far, is because they are here and they help other people and interact with other people, whether it's behind the scenes or on top of the platform.
So Khalil, he's another point he's kicked in here. Another reason is for Steam accounts, which is kind of community adjacent. One account to log into any app. Your potential user base already has an account to access your app or business.
Yeah, I mean that's actually a pretty big one. Part of the reason why we like Splinterlands was like, all right, we got to give people a thing to do, but like it's all additive. As we add new accounts, that helps everybody in Steam. And if DTube gets them, and Steam Leo gets them, and the next colony gets them, eventually, like everybody adding a couple accounts here and there will literally benefits the entire network.
It's actually something we're going to have to get people used to, because what other platform can you go on to and go into all kinds of different businesses and apps and use one account?
I mean, the closest is like a passport or a driver's license,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, you can go into any store and show it as your ID. This is sort of like go into any application built here, sign a transaction, and you're good to go.
That's an interesting analogy. That might actually be a way of explaining it too. That your account becomes a passport to other places.
Better than gateway. Gateway is drugs, so which it is kind of, but it's still a better term than gateway.
Can
You
Steam
know,
be a digital identity blockchain?
well, that actually gets into the next one. Nobody has really mentioned anonymity, but maybe that should feature somewhere. I mean, or it's opt-in anonymity or pseudo anonymity. I mean, that's getting some of this might get a little too specific, but I think there's something here that we could, the feature is opt-in pseudo anonymity, but the benefit is something like, um, there is a social layer if you want to interact, and I don't know, like if voice is going to force everybody to, um, give a rectal scan to prove who they are,
Please
and then
no.
it's actually pretty important that Steam remains pseudo anonymous.
For some people, that is actually really important for some people, and it is a selling point. But I think another aspect of that is that while there is that ability to be anonymous, it doesn't mean that there's the all-out war that takes place on other sites where people don't have to identify themselves.
I think it's funny when I was by my mom's, because I call people by their Steemit name, and talking to her, it's like, yeah, an engine, and using shadows, and she's like, who, what, huh? So from somebody from that has very limited internet use, um, it is very funny when you start using Steemit names or usernames.
So Khalil has also pointed out it's anonymous, but the differentiator is that you see the full history and actions of an account and rate what they say or do based on that data.
I think
Yeah,
that anonymous but transparent. Yeah.
I mean it's the pseudonym, right? Like I know the pseudonym version of you, and so you can develop a relationship and a experience with somebody. I mean, again, like part of this goes back to like on Ethereum. Some of the games on Ethereum, especially when they first started, like prospectors. Like if you look at who's playing, it's E159,684. It's some like wallet address that's playing, and it's not even a person that you're looking at. It's this like address name. And in Splinterlands, you go and you beat up Tender Shepherd, you beat up Yabamat, you beat up, Crypto Eater. They're not necessarily like, you know, John Smith, but it's certainly a identity.
Well, you know who they are, and it's fun.
Come to Steam and build a digital identity. It doesn't have to be tied to your in real life identity. It's interesting we're having this discussion here because Snook has mentioned Medium a few times. Over there, the discussion is, am I going to be harmed by using a pen name? Here we use pen names, and you wonder whether you want to use your personal name or not.
I like. It's not the same as AFK. I I like not using my real name here. I think by not when you blog, which is what I do, whatever, you there's that real thin layer of letting it all out in your writing, and that's where, and I think a lot of people do that, because when people are themselves and they actually write, because of that little tiny layer of anonymity, however you say it, um, it lets you be free to write things that you normally wouldn't write.
Which is why a lot of writers use pen names. A lot of content creators, that for that matter.
Yeah.
So the anonymous slash pen names aspect of it is in itself a selling point.
Yeah, I think my favorite term for that so far is digital identity.
That's a good one.
Like pseudo anonymous is just it's too nerdy and nobody gives a shit. Digital identity, somebody might be able to figure out if they're not familiar with this place.
Yeah, and I kind of think when you throw out the word anonymous on the internet these days, that people get the idea of that group anonymous.
Yeah. Um, are there folks here that are considering putting up a business?
Yep.
What if you're kind of on the fence? What is it that's making you think, you know what, this is worth a shot? I mean, especially now, Steam's at 12 cents. The world is doomed. Everything's fucked. But you still have that inkling of, you know what, I could build here and something could work. What is it that has that?
It's possibilities of the future. At the present time, it should function self sufficiently. We're going to start trading. collectibles, and we're going to use Steam as the primary currency.
So there is something too. There's a big decentralized network that's behind this. So maybe that's network stability or something, or global network stability.
Yeah, which is going to bring longevity, which goes back to what Engine talked about before, that, all the witnesses have to leave before the blockchain can.
Yeah. I mean, Steam's never shutting down. I can just tell you that Splinterlands will run 20 witnesses if we have to. Not that that's like the goal, but if it was ever Steam or no Steam, I can assure everybody here, Splinterlands would just start running witnesses.
Dan wants to come on voice, but I'll warn you, Dan, if you ramble, I will cut you off. Go for it. Yes, it is the ramble.
It's the limited ramble.
I think there's.
All right.
Hang on.
So the
That ain't working.
anybody else that's thinking of starting something? What is it about Steam that helps you want to do it, or like makes you think, you know what, it could work here?
You are if you're answering the question, Sarge. If not, you're going to need to wait until we move on a bit. Shane, are you thinking of starting a business or expanding on what you've already done? Azaria has already talked about the market, or is that part of your plans as well?
Engine, what makes you think it's going to be a good opportunity?
Shane or Engine says he needs a solid, loyal dev team.
Yes, that is one of the quintessential problems of internet businesses.
Define says, I'll say that I'm afraid that downvote vigilantes will kill my project once it gets larger, and is called abuse of the rewards pool. And Engine says, and who's to say I'm not talking about something I'm doing behind the scenes? And Shane says, at the moment, with a limited market and a transient audience, it's tough. And Marky points out devs are more valuable to business than money.
Sorry, is learning Python.
Yeah, I saw her mention that in a post today.
So, doesn't this come down to even developing for developers that they need people here to jump on to the different things? I mean, when Sea Monsters, Splinterlands, whatever started, 100% of the people that did it were Steamians. And then
Yeah,
it got
absolutely.
bigger and bigger and bigger. So the content creators are actually the most important part, quite honestly.
So another selling point on developers would be that they're currently in demand.
That's a great way to phrase that.
Python and JS, anything else? Any other programming languages?
Probably React. What's Lua?
A language.
I've never heard of it. Inertia, that's a easy language. And I've never, has something been built for Steam using Lua that you can reference?
Corona uses Lua. It's a game engine.
Um, so the main ones that I would think of are Python, JavaScript, and React. I can throw Lua up here. Have people made PHP things for Steam? I see Engine listed it. Yeah, Dracos. PHP. Um, you guys aren't quite talking about the libraries. I know that Marky seems to have some negative thoughts on the libraries. Like, if you if you remove a little bit of perfection from you, like how do you um, yeah, actually some of the database stuff too. SQL. Um, how are libraries hold up? Yeah, I know Marky. Anybody other than Marky?
Pandera says, is this like devs to develop for Steam, or Steam kind of being a better option over dev.to for dev bloggers? To develop for Steam, Panderas. I was kind of triggered by the fact that people like Engine are saying they're looking for developers, and others are as well. Guilty says the libraries are what they are for something that was donated by OS devs. So would I take from that, Guilty, that they need a lot of improvement yet to be of value? They need some love, he says.
Ingenuity, I threw Ruby in there. Yeah, I do think it's important that even if this is a little nerdy for some of the audience, actually going through and listing some of the languages. I mean, even people that aren't in any kind of development would probably know terms like Python, JavaScript,
Yep.
Ruby, React, PHP, SQL. And that I think is pretty important because we're not talking about um, shit, I can't remember the Ethereum smart contract language off the top of my head. But that's my whole point is that like these are languages and terms that anybody like literally anybody that's done dev work over the last 20 years would know. Not, oh, here's your special, you know, uh, language that you have to learn that only works for this chain and nothing else.
I've had the question asked of me what coding languages would be needed for a blockchain like Steam. So I think listing the languages is important.
It doesn't need to be exhaustive. I think that'll do most of it. Um, and maybe we point to serpent solidity. Thank you. Solidity was the one I was thinking of. Marky, what C++ stuff is on the chain other than condenser? All
Condenser
right,
JS. C++.
well, right. But like, so the businesses aren't going to do a lot of C++,
So
and the
they would.
devs. I don't know. Maybe do it. I'll put in the blockchain dev work is in C++.
C++ related to Steam, app-based, chain-based, FC, Boost, RocksDB.
Okay. I'll put that under web apps. When we get in that developer section, I could go call those two out. All right. So the things that would the sort of benefits or the things that might drive decision making for businesses, I have as I summed it up as a single sign on or your Steam passport. It goes across all the apps. Long term value, the community, the ability to help others, and a global stable network. Am I missing things that would drive businesses here?
What's Up says affordable entry.
Well, it's free, technically.
All right. So the last group of this is content consumers. Um, do we need like should we go through that same sort of exercise for content consumers as well, or do you feel like that's covered by content creators, or what? Shadows, guide me here a little.
Well, I'm going to throw out the way I see it, and people wanted to agree or disagree, they can chime in. When it comes to content consumers, they need to know the type of content that they're going to find here, that the variety of it. Unfortunately, what they're not going to discover is good content discovery, although communities may help to mitigate that.
Well, maybe we spin that the nice way, and instead of saying, content discovery blows, you say greenfield content. Uh, I don't quite know what it is. Like,
Don't go to trending.
You mean evergreen content?
no, I don't mean evergreen content. I mean that, like, okay, uh, if you want to go create your I Love Cats group on Facebook, there's going to be 8 million. And if you go to Instagram, there's going to be 8 million. And you go to Twitter, and there's already people that are huge. And you go to YouTube, like, you're never going to break into the I Love Cat group. But if you start it here, you're right at the ground floor.
Good point. Ground floor on communities for content discovery. SEO friendly.
What does SEO mean?
Search engine optimization, ability
Yeah.
for people to find it through Google.
Search for content at your heart's content. Oh, it went away. He's keeping that. Never mind.
Is it? Should we put in that there's both short form, long form, and like
Yes.
various mediums? I don't know what the right term is, but communicate in meme, images, blog, or video.
Wide variety of content format. Format may not be the word, but I know what you mean there. That people need to come here not with an expectation they're going to find long ass blogs and only a long ass blogs. They're going to find a bit of everything. Galeazzi says content consumption, content discussion, discussing ideas with people on Steam and tying it back to digital identity point. You can see a history of who you're talking to rather than seeing an egg icon on Twitter.
I don't know how to break that down into buzzwords, call. I'll just copy it and we'll see where that goes.
Darius calls it a content brothel. No holds barred content discovery. No holds barred content. I don't know about content discovery.
Yeah, there's got to be maybe immutable matters for the consumer too, but you can like the whole. It's like a instead of a safe space zone, this is like a free speech zone. So you'll actually hear all the opinions, not just the echo chamber.
True enough. What's Up had also pointed out that the rewards for um, content consuming is also a point. Message history comments aren't going to get deleted.
Yeah, it's we can almost like that's getting to almost like accountability. Like you can hold your uh, you can hold your influencers accountable for things that they said because there's always going to be a freaking trail.
Mm-hmm. Kalia says that accountability, that's the buzzword.
I mean, I don't know that it is a buzzword. I don't think that's what like rich famous people like, but that's what we could do here.
How about transparency? It's becoming a thing with Twitter discussions and Russian bots.
I mean, what it's so frustrating to me that like Steam really has a lot of this shit. Maybe we haven't perfected it, and maybe it's not quite ready. But like, you go through and look at a lot of the problems that are out there. Steam solves a shit ton of them.
This is true.
Come here and be who you are. Be the real you.
Among my
Careful,
rice noodles.
careful. There are some
Well,
real yous we don't want to know.
true.
Space is asking the question, what problems exactly?
Well, like scalability being one. You know, like we could actually get millions of people on Steam, and this thing would still function. Like, I'm not sure that that's true of other blockchains. You know, like it seems like if you add 5 more people to Ethereum, that thing will. Um, so that, but I'm also talking about like immutable, accountable. Those are things that you can't really do.
Inertia says communities can be a backup solution for a subreddit. No, no, no. We want them to be the solution, not a backup.
Hacking and phishing. Where would that go? Is that a content consumer, content creator, a business?
Probably
All of
business because
All
it's
of
a
the above.
safety.
Yeah, but people want their accounts to be safe too, so it'd be all of
True.
above.
right. I'll put that into the general affects everybody. Security. What would you call that? Account security? Account security and recovery?
Well, don't put recovery because sometimes you can't recover.
Guilty says, yeah, probably.
I'll put it in there for the notes. Whether that goes into the online thing, who knows? But
And Khalid says data protection for users.
who do you mean by a user? These are all user categories.
Anybody that puts anything on the blockchain, really, their data is protected.
I'm not sure what data protection means in this context.
Well, in the sense that it's not going to get deleted, and even if somebody tries to steal it as theirs first, the blockchain's going to tell you what was there first.
So the term I like for that is immutable, but maybe data protection is a
More
more
easily
user
understood.
friendly term.
He also says when you log to Steemit or Steam Engine, those two businesses aren't getting a bunch of personal data from you and storing it, waiting for an eventual hack.
So yeah, I have overarching benefits. Maybe I need some overarching features that explain where those benefits come.
Well, that one that Khalid has pointed out there is that two businesses aren't getting a bunch of personal data from and storing it, which is true of any of the apps and front ends that we log into with our account. They're not getting a bunch of information, and if you're using Keychain, they're not even getting your keys.
Just a notice to everybody here, you guys should not be putting your keys into websites.
Yeah, you're not kidding. So
Okay.
maybe the buzz on that one is your personal data remains personal. Remains secure, maybe is a better word.
What happens on Steam stays on Steam.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's let's move away from this for a second and maybe try some. We've had some good discussions. Maybe we can try some potential marketing slogans or like one-line pitches to the different categories. We have about 15 minutes left. How does that sound to you, Shadows?
Let's go for it.
So we've described them. So you guys have some sense of the content. So I want you to put on your like Studkev was saying we need that elevator pitch. You have one line to tell a content creator. You're standing in an elevator with with PewDiePie, and or it doesn't have to be PewDiePie, but you're standing in an elevator with somebody that's got a video camera and likes to do, they either are dreaming of being a social media influencer, they already are. What are you going to tell that content creator? You should join Steam because
Steam forward? That doesn't tell me anything, Space. Azaria's going doohickeys. Come on, you're going to have to tell us something, guys. It doesn't suck from inertia. You couldn't have been any more vague there, Space. I see some keys typing away here. Who's going to...
I guess if I'm going to put one out, it would be connect with your audience.
Guilty says not a scam like the rest of them. Define says you own your content. Jack says because you have almost instant transactions, practically peer-to-peer communications. Define you control your keys. The forever social platform, Steam, from Inertia. Pimp Engine says what Facebook should be.
I'll hold this open for another minute or two and just keep brainstorming. Toss them up there. We can hone these later.
Several are typing. Socialize smarter, not harder. Own your account from Space. Own your community from Khaleesi.
Well, how about Quick's money? How about the cooperation? How about
That's
pencil?
those are not lines, one-liners to sell content. Space says because when you post on Facebook or Insta, they own your content and can remove it.
Well, just own your content. Be your own boss.
Oh, I might be careful with that. Be your own boss till the downvoters arrive.
True.
Be
I
you.
like be. I like that one. That's how I look at Steam.
Marky says there was something recent with with Singapore asking Facebook to change a user's post via the fake news feature.
Yeah, I saw that. Creepy as shit.
Yeah. Kitty Girl says fast, free, fun, the immutable blockchain with crypto content and community. It's pretty good.
What does immutable mean?
Look it up. Inertia says cryptographically verifiable drama.
Um, immutable just means they can't change it. So like they can't rip off your thread or your videos. It's there. It's on
Came,
the block.
came for the steam, stayed for the memes.
Is
All right.
is there a sentence, whatever, another word you could use for immutable?
Yeah, somebody. What was the other one? I wrote it somewhere. Instead of immutable, it was uh, digital. Shit, I don't know where the term is. It's in this. It's in this list somewhere.
Azaria says just don't use the word fungible in the elevator pitch.
Oh, it's fungible, baby. Everything fungible tokens, fungible
Okay.
community, fungible.
And Elgago gives us the child-friendly freedom to express without getting brain fucked by corporate brainwash algos. Yeah, immutable is the standard programming term. Content creators might not be too comfortable with it, and that is in understanding it.
Immutable database, fungible communities and tokens.
Just for his area.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna ditch the talking to content creators for a second, and let's move on to our dev. You are, turnkey. Yeah, you forgot turnkey, immutable blockchain for fungible and non-fungible tokens. Like that.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. That's how you feature punch somebody to death.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay, so devs, you got a dev next to you. In fact, you're thinking about your business and you're like, all I need to do is get this dev interested in Steam, and if I can do that, he'll go work on my project for me. So now you just got to pitch the dev on Steam. What are you going to tell the dev? What's your one-liner to go pique their interest and get them to start looking into this place?
New look, same great taste. Hey Dev, it's a hash in the sky. Bandera says headless
Devs,
CMS.
devs like hashes in the sky.
Oh, do they?
So what I'm kind of joking about is that you can take some arbitrary data and put it somewhere, and you can always get it. It's really not that simple with Steam, but it can be achieved with a few libraries. Like, here's the stuff I want to store for my app, and I want to be able to get that data wherever my app is deployed, and that is possible.
So Space has asked how many devs. There is more than one. Marky Mark's here, Inertia's here. We had a few others that we were talking to earlier. Guilty's here. Azaria is learning Python.
Yeah, sorry.
She's
Yeah,
a junior app.
she's a dev. I
Junior
think that's
dev.
fair. She knows a lot of coder too.
Yep, Blue Mist. Dev diversity.
But again, this isn't just what would a dev say to another dev. This is what would any of us. You got to turn to the side, grab your cousin by the scruff of the neck, and say, "Stop working for Google. Those people are a bunch of sons of bitches, and we all know it. Go work on this blockchain. It'll change your life because." And then what are you going to say?
Yeah, Space is asking that if, from the dev's standpoint, what would they say? So here's the challenge to the devs. What would you say to another dev, but put it into terms that people like the non-tech would be able to say to a dev and they'd understand it? Engine says, dude, this is where your creative capacity can come to life. It's not bad, actually. Gecko says, because it's the best place to build, lots of tools, best documentation, and a whole active community to discuss help. Want to take the red pill. Code the future today from Draker Noise. So one of the things that Inertia had said initially was the kind of automatic feedback, because you're doing things that you're putting out there and people can respond to it. And I'm assuming, Inertia, that you meant that people can respond from all different levels, both not only other tech people, but people that would actually be using your code.
Right. I mean, if you make an announcement, people can get excited, even if they don't quite understand what your tool is announcing. So I get that a lot. I try and pick some humorous, maybe comic or a nice picture, and then describe it in general, and then give a one-line command how to kick it off. So there's like a varying level of ability that can look at it and get excited.
What's Up has said built-in beta testers. And she also said that Agro did a great job of leveraging the community for art, songs, and stories, and that refers to Steam Monsters / Splinterlands.
Yeah, that's a bit more for the businesses, I think. We only have a couple minutes, so maybe we're running out of time. So, do you want me to go try to do messaging for cash investors or businesses?
Let's try the cash investors.
All right. What are you guys going to say to cash investors? Uncle Louie's in town. Uncle Louie's got a crap ton of money. What are you going to go tell Uncle Louie to say, hey, why don't you go stack some Steam sats? How do you convince him to buy into the Steam?
Buy low, like now. No, never. Don't make arguments for them.
No,
Assume.
I'm not. I'm just. I was talking to my uncle who,
Oh,
and I had to over a weekend. I was showing him stuff, this steam and money and all that, and it's a ongoing thing. I think for somebody that doesn't know anything about it.
Ingen has said it's not a company; it's an asset. Emerging technology, get in early. How about the stability factor? Defines as historical prices versus current bear. Because when you think back to the .com days, with the current bear market, we're not going to see a whole bunch of dives and people disappearing because those that are here and still functioning are going to continue functioning.
Which might like rabid users or like hardcore loyal users.
Yeah. Yeah, for the most people point, people that have been here any length of time, they're not going anywhere.
Come on, you guys want to get your cousin to invest. What are you gonna buy Steam? Why should they invest in a Steam based blockchain company?
Engine says, imagine if you were asked to invest in Apple, only knew it would one day be the best investment you ever made. That's what we're here for, is to shill Steam. So we're not going to stop shilling it. Blockchain is the future.
Bruh. Do you even blockchain?
Stake rewards / interest.
Steam has the best rewards. Disagreement. All right, we hit 5 p.m. I think it's okay to call it at a 2 hour meeting, even if we didn't quite get as many of the messages as I would like to. I'll put out a post with the notes. I'll try to clean this up a little bit in the next day or two. Can put this out, and if you guys can think of some other messages to help us with one-liners for cash investors and one-liners to attract new businesses here, then I think that would be helpful.
So Khaleesi also says disproportionate potential gain versus potential loss. Passive APR.
I mean, that's not a slogan.
No.
Okay. Uh, would you care to sum up anything this afternoon, my dear Shadows Pub?
I think that we've probably got a broader picture in different categories than we had after the first one, which was kind of the objective for today, was to talk about the different groups and start to form a bit of a picture on that. And I think we have accomplished that.
Is there anybody, when I put out this post, if anybody feels like we're really missing the category of people we should be messaging to, that's still pretty important. So if we're missing a group that we should have done this exercise on, then please mention that. So I'm good at this point. I'd like to thank everybody for their work in this. This is an effort of the Steam Foundation, and this is part of one of our 5 main objectives. The first one being let's go market Steam, with ultimately the goal of getting new communities, apps, businesses, and investors to go flock here. And I think this has been helpful for us. Our next plan is to sort of go back to the drawing board, take all of these notes, and distill them down into what's best and what can we sort of build a cohesive campaign around, both for a static site but then also trying to figure out, messages that might go out via social media, paid advertisements, social media influencers, or honestly, just some tutorials of how to talk about this place and how to get people here. So it's a Sunday afternoon. Thank you for spending your time with us. We appreciate you being Steam hardcores. We are too, and looking forward to making Steam 8 again.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
All right, you guys have a wonderful afternoon. Take care.